Welcome back to video number 3 in this 3-part video series. We're talking about mental and emotional health. Now, if you like this video, make sure you go back and check out the first 2 videos in this series because they do lead up to this one. Now, I want to start with a very frustrating moment that I had a couple of years back. I think it was a Sunday afternoon. I was just kind of sitting there and look over at this book shelf and I look at it and I just realize, man, I have invested a lot of money and time into reading books, especially nonfiction books. And that doesn't even include the ones that are hiding inside of my device from Kindle. And I thought, that's frustrating because I don't know if I could stand in front of my 3rd grade class right now and give a 3 bullet point, book report on any one of those books. And I spent all this time and money, and that's a bummer. So it's like, what did I even get out of it? Reading, highlighting, taking my own notes in the margin, dumping some of it into my journals here. But then I realized the object is not to give a book report to Miss Odegaard's class back at Adams Elementary. My job is to see those books and see the journal entries as resources. Resources for connecting ideas. Resources for connecting ideas. And as I've been explaining to patients chiropractic and how the results work, and this chart I made a few years back, I call it the 27 birds in one stone, the positive benefits of having our atlas adjusted. But the things that I always come back to is, what does the postural improvement that we achieve right after the adjustment, what does that actually imply? Does it imply that the lungs are going to work better, the digestive system is going to work better? Well, not necessarily, or at least not that I can clinically correlate to the fact that the leg came down. But I can correlate that it's coming from the same part of the brain known as the cerebellum, which improves our posture, which has everything to do with the vestibular nucleus, and our hippocampus, hypothalamus, amygdala, which has to do with our ability to handle stress, sleep, and energy, as well as our ability to think clearly and have good posture and better range of motion. It's all neurological. And so originally, that's how I developed this sort of USB kind of logo or symbol to express to people the benefits of the C1 adjustment in certain parts of the brain working better. And since those parts of the brain work better, that is what accounts for the other areas of improvement that a person often experiences here. But then over time, and looking at my own journal, I realized that, and I even drew this practically out perfectly, not even realizing that I had done it. Maybe the seed was planted from seeing this chart so many times. But I realized just myself, I tend to be kind of more, I get energy from being on my own, right? No offense to you, I'm sure you're a nice person and we get along, but I get my energy from being by myself. And so I know I learned, and I had written in one of my journals here, that I relate better to others when I am connected to myself. And since I didn't make myself, I realized there that, hey, I gotta connect to God first. I gotta connect to God so I can connect to myself and understand my own personality, my own shape, my own heart, my own abilities, my own experiences, put all that together so that I can do the best possible job for other people. And that's just kind of the nature of mental emotional stuff, how the brain is wired. There's a certain part of the frontal lobe that gives us knowledge or perception of the divine. Now, we're not talking about religion here, but I want to make that observation so that you understand that this is an organic, authentic kind of experience. And it wasn't even until after that time that I looked, this really is just like natural law, because this is sort of the structure of a nerve cell. This is sort of the structure of an oak tree, both above ground and below ground. And this was really validated by a quote that I read from Ray Dalio. He said, 20 billionaire Ray Dalio, he said that algorithms are the most important language, most important concept that you and your children can learn for the 21st century. And I thought, aha, that's why this works for me, and that's why I need to express this to others. The fact is, human beings have to be we're like a rocket guided missile that's GPS locked in. And if we don't feel like we're reaching that in life, that creates a feeling of stress and overwhelm. So this technology that I'm presenting to you helps us to be more stress-free because we have a higher likelihood of realizing what the heck we were put on this planet to accomplish. So Earl Nightingale's definition of success was the progressive realization. Not just, I'm going to meditate for the sake of meditating and then poof, my image dissolves as soon as I get up and drink my tea or whatever. The realization, we're doing this to realize, to be changed, to take that artificial intelligence and optimize our own ancient intelligence. The progressive realization of a worthy, that you're trading your own life for, ideal. I love this country because we can create an ideal and then we have the right to go for it. Nobody has any right to tell us who we are or what we aren't, or make judgments based on the appearance of things other than our own character. But first, a computer, when it connects 1 + 1, what does that equal? A calculator, 1 + 1 equals 2, right? But did you know that the human mind, when we have one idea combined with the next, we always get 3 at least ideas, right? You get the merger of the 2 ideas, you get the original one, right? So the merger of that creates 3 or 4 more ideas. In the process of that, the nerve synapse is working. You're either going to feel inspired to take action or to make another journal entry. We integrate our own capabilities with certain opportunities. Now, the human mind is incredible, but we can really only consciously think of one thing. So when we're meditating, we think of one of those things, a capability or an opportunity, which comes from our journaling. So here's my 3-point journal system. Number 1, capture the relevant idea. Number 2, we're gonna scan. We're gonna start with a certain question. Maybe it's, what am I gonna do next summer for the 4th of July? And we're gonna start with that question, and just like the search box on Google, when we read back through our journal, we're looking for those aha moments. It's either gonna resonate or it's not. And then when you find that it does resonate, you're just gonna put a little line next to it. It might look something like this here, line. Might look something like that right there. Or you might put little segments right there and there. Now after we've scanned, we're gonna connect. So it's capture, scan, connect. And the connection comes from meditating. Meditating. Now, how do we meditate? Well, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to meditate. You could take, by the way, a 6-month trip, sabbatical out to the Himalayas and hang out with 6 monks. However, this isn't the only way, but it's an easier way. First of all, get used to, do this for 5 minutes at a time. 5 minutes, accomplish it, maybe take a couple days in a row, and then do step number 2, and then do step number 3, and then step number 4. 5 minutes is not a lot of time. It's gonna seem like a lot of time, but it's not a lot of time. It would go like this. Sit there, stare at the wall, a blank wall. Try to do this in the same place in your home all the time. Sit in a chair, but don't lounge back. Sit on the edge of it with your feet flat, and do not move. That's the key. Do not move for 5 minutes while looking at the same part on the wall. You'll realize that it's difficult to do that. Yeah, you can breathe. Yeah, you can wink. Yeah, you can swallow. But you're going to want to scratch that itch, but I'm telling you, don't do it. Because then you'll realize that, hey, you can control your body. If you can control your body, you can control your mind and improve your attention or your ability to concentrate on something. And then the second step would be to study something for like 20 seconds, and then you're going to stare at the wall for 5 minutes and try to imagine that, every single part of that object that you were studying. Because you want to be able to maintain your focus on one thing at a time. Yeah, other things are going to enter your mind, but that's where the electrical synapse comes in, and who knows, you might light up something just like Clark Griswold, right? We're trying to merge one idea to the next to get 3 or 4 or more, and then make another journal entry or take inspired action. An algorithm is actually a set of instructions in order to achieve a certain result. My definition of an algorithm, based on just kind of my own discovery, is the combination of 2 or more meaningful ideas in order to create inspired action. And then the next step would be picture on the wall a black line 10 inches, 2 black lines that are 10 inches going across, and then 2 black lines 10 inches going up and down. Then imagine a circle within that square. Then imagine a dot within that circle. Then imagine that circle and dot are actually a cone, a 3-dimensional structure coming out of the wall. And then once you get it, then just kind of drift over here like this, drift over here like that, up underneath during your 5-minute session, and hopefully you'll be able to see all different sides of that cone if you really focus and concentrate. See, you're cultivating your imagination. When you were a kid in elementary school, the teacher said, pay attention, quit daydreaming. And then we forget kind of over time how to imagine and how to create in our mind's eye. But this practice, I'm telling you, is going to help to develop that, so that when you eventually get to step 4, where you're focusing on your journal entry, you don't have to use my model of what an algorithm looks like. Yours might be 2 prongs. Yours might be a linear, this equals this. Who knows? It might end up being several algorithms that are interconnected. And the wonderful thing is that you can try these algorithms in your life, these simple if-then statements, and you either win or you learn. There's no emotion attached to it. It's either a breakthrough or you learn and you optimize. You tweak it, you change it. You change around the order or the syntax. You maybe add an additional step. You maybe have to do something first in the beginning of your day so that you feel resourceful enough to then do this and this and this. And you know that if you did this, then these other dominoes would be a lot easier to knock over. And you can edit it as well. That's why you want to have a journal. We're talking about breakthroughs. We're talking about beating stress. We're talking about staying out of the range that has its physical and chemical effects tied to stress, blood pressure, pulse, our hormones can get affected, generational stress factors passed on to our children, behavioral things that our children learn from us, how we respond to different situations. You know, we live in a constant flux of yes, no, 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 and things happen to us in life, and depending on what we're thinking and our perception of how we're advancing, if we're getting closer to, what we're going for, and if we created a lifestyle around that, something's going to spill out of us. Something's going to spill out of us. A rocket-guided missile knows how to get back on course right away. And that's the wonderful thing I've realized about with journaling, and I'm always improving at it, is that I can realize my trajectory. It's like a javelin. The Olympics just finished up. And the javelin thrower will grab somewhere in the middle of the javelin in order to have the highest launch, to go the farthest on the straightest trajectory. And when you can take a firm handle on your emotions, why you feel a certain way, and you can also understand the thoughts that led you to that point and what the future actions are going to be. Well, I hope this has been a fruitful discussion for you. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, it's a topic that I like to talk about, And who knows, maybe it could be another journal entry for me. Let me know if you have any questions, and I've attached all those different resources in this email above. Forward this along to a friend if you think they might benefit. Thanks for watching.